G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders Podcast, episode 45. Today we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about what it would look like if we had the draft lottery, similar to how they have it in the NBA. We also have a look at the top draft prospects going into 2024. And of course we have our world sports segment where we take a look at the cricket, the soccer, and of course some massive news going around in the NFL. But let's drop the intro and get right into it. And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be AFL this next season.
It's at the handle at the back, Nick Dankos to get the pies home! He's done it! But as always, guys, got my brother Jack joining me today, getting up to episode 50 now.
Raising the bat.
Nearly raising the bat. We'll talk about cricket and that a little bit later. I saw today as well, we are recording this a little bit early on a Monday. AFL teams have got back to their start of their pre-season after the Christmas break.
Yeah.
Some people got back to their jobs today, I believe, as well. The lucky bastards who got the extra week off. You didn't even get a week off, did you?
I didn't get it. I got a couple of days off.
Oh, I thought you. Yeah, but you get paid a lot more than most of us.
Not really.
He's very rich.
No,
guys.
it's not much. But
He's very rich, trust me.
No, I'm not. Don't come rob me.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll leave the I'll leave his address down in the description below.
Yeah.
Anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about today was a bit of chat about a draft lottery. So this has been talked about a little bit when probably a couple of years ago it was a really big talking point in the AFL about trying to make it somewhat even so teams could not tank. But obviously this has been used in the NBA. Now in the NBA they do have a draft lottery where you still, if you do finish it as a lower team, you get a huge chance to get the top picks, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a little bit of talk about that if it was to come to the AFL. Now, the way the NBA works over the past 4 years is the teams that finish between lowest and third lowest get a 14% chance to get that first pick. Fourth would get 12.5%. Fifth would get 10.5%. Sixth would get 9%. Seventh would get 7.5%. Eighth would get 6%. Ninth would get 4.5%. 10th would get 3%. 11 would get 2%. 12 would get 1.5%. 13th would get 1%. 14th would get 0.5%. And then I don't think the top four would actually get a chance to get the first draft pick, which I mean is kind of fair enough.
Yeah.
But that does potentially mean that the team that finished fifth this year, which was Carlton, could have actually got the first pick, and got highly rated for some chance.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest, I don't think the AFL... I mean, obviously everyone remembers the tanking situation with Melbourne.
Yeah.
But could you really... I guess that's a talking point from this year, West Coast Eagles. And Hawthorn, there was all the talk about really early on in the year that they were tanking. Obviously, I think it was Damien Barrett. Do you think an AFL could use the draft lottery type? Do you think it would be a good idea?
No. Not in the AFL, I don't think it would work.
Why?
I just don't think it would. I don't really have a reason, I just don't think it would.
Every single Facebook comment, I believe it wouldn't work, so fuck you.
Yeah.
I think maybe the team numbers in the AFL is quite a lot different to the NBA. There's a lot more teams in the NBA than there is in the AFL.
There's a lot more press and stuff on the college system that you have more exposure. Yeah. So I think that also helps. And I think also, there's not a lot of... I don't think also, if they do a lottery like with the percentages that you've just given, I don't think they'd like it that, say, like you said, Carlton still have a chance of getting that first pick after having such a good season. I don't think they'd even it out. I think it would make it even worse.
Yeah. Now, that's another thing as well, that I don't believe NBA... I think AFL is the only one that has, father-son picks, but... academy picks as well, but obviously kind of diminish the draft aspect because if, like in a couple of years ago when Ugo Hagen got picked up at pick 1, if, for example, the draft that the lotto picked out, fourth, the team that finished fourth to the bottom, whatever, they got the first pick, but it automatically got taken away from them because the Bulldogs had the academy pick. Yeah. I think that is things we could talk about. I don't think the AFL has a huge tanking problem. I know that maybe some people could have suggested that West Coast were trying to do it this year in North Melbourne for an extent of time, but I don't think the AFL is overly looking to tank. I think since the Melbourne situation way back, 10, 15 years ago now? It would have been 10, 15 years ago, I think now. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of an issue in the game. I think there's obviously a lot more other factors that the AFL draft does have, like the academy picks, like the father-sons and that I don't know if it would exactly work. I don't mind the idea of a lottery, to be honest, but I think there would have to be a lot more different changes than how the NBA has done it, and maybe what they could, it's something that would come in one year and then automatically someone's going to think it's rigged. Because let's say, for example, that let's say Carlton did get the pick in one. Who's the deciding factor of who's picking out of this lottery picks? Who's the one choosing the numbers? Who's the one grabbing them out? Can you trust them? We can't exactly trust everyone at the AFL.
You can't even trust the umpires.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you can't even trust the umpires through the Brownlow, because we saw in 2022 with Paddy Cripps. It wasn't Paddy Cripps. I don't know if that umpire had a specific ruling on the whole Brownlow, but he was caught to have been putting money on betting or something.
Yeah, on
to do with the Brownlow
games and stuff like that. So
yeah, so that's the thing. Can it be fully trusted? Is that fair enough? Because if Carlton were to have got that first pick this year, if there was a draft lottery and fifth place got their chance to get it, is that really fair? Probably not.
Yeah, probably.
But at the end of the day, I think the one thing that this, like a lottery system for the draft would do, it would 100% eliminate teams trying to tank. Well, maybe not 100%, because you still get an average chance of getting the number one pick. But it would give them more of it would give a lot less teams incentive to lose.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it, because I think the draft would make it a lot more interesting. I think.
Yeah, it probably would make it somewhat interesting. Now that they've split it up into 2 days,
I still think there's a lot to be done about the draft, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about these top draft prospects going into 2024. But there are a lot of things that need to be done on the draft side of things, because I think there are a lot of things that should be looked at and needs to be promoted a lot more, other than just a couple of days before the draft of the year.
Yeah, because
that's the only reason really the majority of people even know about that sort of stuff.
You hear it every now and then from a couple of journos. Oh, this guy's going to be the number one pick. You don't hear about him until the draft year. So.
Yeah, or not even then, like a couple of months in advance. Maybe you may see an occasional article on the AFL website, but unless you're actually looking for it, you don't know.
Yeah,
and I mean, the only people who are going to be looking for it are people who are extremely interested in the draft. Like even me and you, like we're not exactly like the followers of the draft.
No.
Like we're a lot more interested in like trades and that sort of stuff, and like players who are ready now, trades, movements, and that sort of stuff. So, and contract talks, but I guess that's something we can work on going into the future, is following the things like the drafts and that, to try and get some more news out to you guys as well. And I think that could be something we could start doing. Let us know down below if you do want us to start following more draft stuff, so we can, start looking into it, because, it's not exactly something that's well known to find. Like, no. Unless you see an article on the AFL website, you have to go looking for it.
Yeah, and they don't really broadcast most of the under 18s and stuff on TV a lot.
I don't think they do much at all. I think the most they do is they put it on the AFL website so you can live stream it.
Yeah.
Which is like, whatever, good on you, but no one's going to do that.
No.
Like, not many people are going to do that.
Not many people are going to really watch it.
Exactly.
Besides recruiters.
Yeah, exactly. Besides recruiters and maybe family members, close friends, and then there would be a couple of AFL fans out there who would watch it. But I remember, was it 2019 when they had the draftee All-Star game or something at Punt Road, when we saw players. No, it wasn't 2019. It would have been a couple of years earlier than that, because Hugh McCluggage was playing. But I remember seeing that, and that was like really interesting to watch. It was the day before the grand final. I think it was just after the AFL parade.
Yeah,
the grand final parade, sorry. But I think that's something that they could really work on. But I do think that they need to be broadcasting these as curtain raisers to the AFL games. And I don't know why the AFL refused to do these curtain raiser games.
Yeah.
for state league, which I think may have to happen as well to keep state leagues relevant going into the next couple of years in the majority of states other than Western Australia, because all the AFL teams now are a part of the VFL as a reserves league. As you know, we talked about a couple of weeks ago that Port Adelaide and the Crows are likely going to be joining the VFL in 2025.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's something that's going to have to keep it relevant. But I think that there's such a big market for, the pre-entertainment of games is so fucking boring and so shit.
Yeah.
Like, just before games. Put some under-18s kids out there to make them play some footy, so we can finally know who are these people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or put a state league team in front of you, like your state league team. I don't know why it's not broadcast a lot more. But if we did look at it, there was a chance that looking at the draft this year, the original, like teams like Hawthorn could have had an easy chance to get Harley Reid if there was a draft lottery. And, that's something that could have happened. But obviously at the end of the day, it didn't. And I think the West Coast picked the right player going forward. But if we want to move on, we'll talk about the top draft prospects going into 2024. This is from Cal Toomey on the AFL website. Like I said, you can't really... the only reason why I knew about this is because I was on the AFL website and I saw it. I thought it was quite interesting. Now, the first one, which is probably the big one going into this year's draft, is Levi Ashcroft. Obviously, brother of Will Ashcroft and a father-son pick for Brisbane Lions.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen what Will Ashcroft was able to do in his first year before he got injured. This guy's, I think, been touted as almost better than, or could be better than Will Ashcroft. It says here he's got All-Australian under-18s honours as well for Vic Metro. Big one here, I think. I mean, obviously he will be going to Brisbane, so this is a big one for them. He's placed a midfielder, 179 centimetres by 75 kilos, so quite a light kid. He'll obviously grow into his body. There's obviously a big one that another father-son will be going to Brisbane, considering they're in the premiership window right now. It's not really listed as who's going to be number 1 here and who's going to be number 10, but yeah, at this stage, this will probably be one of the first draft picks, I would believe, because this is the one player that we've actually heard about a couple of years in advance.
Yeah, but that's only because of the Ashcroft name. That's the only reason we're hearing about it.
And the fact that that his brother is playing at the moment and had such a good first year.
Exactly, yeah.
Another one here is called Sid Draper, another midfielder, comes from South Australia, South Adelaide in fact. Was named in South Australia's MVP in the under-18s, was picked as a part of the All-Australian team, and won the Best of Field medal in South Adelaide's under-18 grand final victory in the Sandford under-18s as well. Seems like he's also the younger brother of Arlo Draper, who recently got delisted from the Magpies this year. So another South Australian, looks like probably at this stage top 10. It's really hard to tell where these guys are going to go, because obviously they could get injured at the start of the year and fall way back in the draft. They do say that he models his footy or whatever. He looks similar to a Lachie Neale type. I do love how they say that these draftees look like, this guy moves like Bontempelli, this guy jumps like, I don't know, Harley Reid, all this sort of bullshit. I think it's very funny when they try to match them to that, because they can't live up to that.
No.
And the thing is as well, if they do live up to how good they are, they're never remembered as, this guy was the Buddy Franklin before he was Buddy Franklin or whatever. They remember them as their own player.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think it was, who was it? There was a player who recently came into the game. Josh Kelly. I think he was matched up to like a Scott Pendlebury type. But no one's ever, if you see Josh Kelly play now, you're not going to say, he was the Scott Pendlebury after Scott Pendlebury came to the game, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that is quite funny. Next one here is Tom Gross, midfield forward, about 180 centimetres, 70 kilos, plays for Vic Metro. Has a bit of Rory Sloane about him. I love that again. Including, he has a couple of big late games in the Coates Talent League. Another midfielder. So Cade Herbert's also another midfielder from Woodville West Torrens. That's good to see a couple of South Australians could be going in this draft. Sam Layla for Vic Country. Midfielder, 187 centimetres tall, 88 kilos. Was a young, talented cricketer for the Red Bulls, I believe. Strong body prospect, a bit taller. So I think big body midfielders obviously are the big talking point. going into AFL now, you can't really be a small midfielder nowadays. You have to be, 190 centimetres sometimes.
Yeah, 190.
90 kilos to be moving around nowadays. So could be a good prospect there. Christian Mraz. Yeah, we'll go Mraz, eh? Eastern Rangers product, played 16 games, showed his smooth moving capabilities through the middle. Ooh. His classy skills were on show through the Rangers funnel series. Why is this written like a weird ad that you see at the back of the back of a newspaper?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Looks among the best midfielder candidates going into 2024. Well, so far, looking at all these names, they're all midfielders. So there's no ruckman here, there's no key positions. We do have one key position here, which is Tyler Welsh.
He's father-son.
Yeah, so he's a father-son prospect for the Adelaide Crows. Oh, hang on. Was son of former Adelaide, Western Bulldogs, North Melbourne forward Scott Welsh, eligible to join the Crows as a father-son. Now, he's actually been touted as a pretty big prospect for the Crows. I think he's already been looked at by the Adelaide Crows to potentially pick him up as a father-son this year.
I think he's been training with them during this pre-season.
That would not surprise me one bit. We've seen I think Harley Reid actually trained with Carlton for quite a while. Through the pre-season. Maybe it was McKercher. There was a couple that were. I know Harley Reid played a couple of games for the reserves for Carlton last year. So that's another one as well. That's basically the only forward I can actually see on this list, and he's the last one on here. Another midfielder is Jagger Smith. Oh God. Jagger. Jagger. He's from the Chargers. Gets his averages 30 disposals for them, so that's pretty good in the 10 games that he played in 2023. He's a standout for the Eastern Rangers, and in the Chargers elimination final, he got 26 touches along with a goal, 5 inside 50s, and was a consistent for Vic Metro on the Carnival. Well, I do love that his name's Jagger Smith. Very, very fun first name. Very normal. I think that definitely their family were like, look, we have to name this kid something interesting. We have to name him Jagger. Would you ever name your kid Jagger?
No. There's a lot of people, a lot of names now I wouldn't name my kids.
We've got Jagger O'Meara in the game. Jagger. I like that. I hope he joins the Swans. Josh Smiley. That's gold. And he's a big body midfielder as well. He's 194 by 92 kilos. Jesus Christ, that's huge. He's bigger than me. He's 17 years old and he's way bigger than me. I feel fucking hurt. He's for another Vic Metro. Only teams I'm seeing, states I'm seeing right now is Victoria and Adelaide looking into this top draft prospects at this stage. Finn O'Sullivan's on here as well. I feel like he's... Oh, here we go. So he's a second cousin to Sam Walsh. So that's kind of... I don't know if they're saying that he looks like Sam Walsh, but they do say he's a tough competitor, consistent. He can mark overhead as well as a midfielder, which is definitely something else that people are looking for these days. Because midfielders have to get around the ground, obviously, and get those possessions in the middle to get it forward. But that's basically all the draft prospects looking at it right now. Obviously, there'll be a lot more to come throughout the year. We will start talking more about draftees if you guys really want us to. It's not like we're not interested in it, but it's something that we don't follow as much. I just thought it was quite interesting to look at it today. And obviously the big one there is Levi Ashcroft, Tyler Welsh for the Crows potential pickup. Those are basically the big ones that I've heard about so far. Is there anyone else that really I listed there that you really noticed or
not really
noticed beforehand?
No.
You're not a big follower of the draft, are you?
No, I've never been that much of a... Like, the only time I pay attention really is when I is on draft night and I see what players Port Adelaide have picked up. That's really when I start looking at them.
I think that's the majority of AFL supporters, to be honest. They only look on draft night. And I think that's a big reason why the AFL need to start promoting the draft a lot more. Because, like we said, we don't know any of these names. I know NFL's talked about it a lot when we talked about the draft, but the NFL, they are college for 4 years and you start to know these guys from the top.
Yeah, and you know pretty much who's going number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, exactly, and you can follow them. Maybe the point against doing that, though, is it would put so much pressure on these younger guys, and in the NFL, when they get to be picked up, I think they're 23. Compared to AFL players, they are 17, 18.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the talking point against doing it and trying to promote it so much more. But I do think at the end of the day, on the fans' sake of things, it would be a lot better for them to hear like what players they could be picking up and having not a relationship to know them, but some sort of knowledge about players coming to your club, and not just having nothing known about them at all until a couple of days before the draft. But we'll move on. One more thing I wanted to take a look at before we move into our World Sports segment was the membership numbers were released for the end of 2023 season. I'll quickly take a look. Collingwood led all comers, not really surprising there. They had 106,000, which was a club record. Every single club, West Coast, Richmond and Hawthorn, all got club records this year. So that's really good to see that the AFL is growing. Last year. Sorry. Whatever. Well, it's still this year. But anyway. It's really good to see that the AFL is continually growing here. That's one of the... Not really like the only sport that's growing here, but like it's really good to see the AFL was like really... Obviously, with the COVID year, it was a really plateauing, and even 2022 was a pretty low year. They were saying the crowd numbers were really far down. Yeah. But obviously, this year, 2023, picked up really well. Collingwood lead all comers with 106,000. I won't read all of them. I'll just read a couple. West Coast are second still, which is really good to see considering they finished bottom. They have 103,000 members. Richmond are up there, 101,000 as well. Carlton with 95. They're like the top four. I do like to see that the Crows removed all their free online memberships to give themselves an extra 200,000 members or whatever they used to have. The Crows always used to have the most amount of members, but they always used to have an asterisk next to it saying that, this includes their membership number, their free members that they're allowed to have. When you give your dog a free membership and they get like a little sweater, so you take a photo of it and, your dog starts to hate you and probably pees on your rug the next night. Who else is here? Freo are actually in front of a couple of Victorian teams, which I think is actually quite interesting. They've got 62,000. They got the 12th most in the AFL. St Kilda are next. They got 60,000. Western Bulldogs got 56. Brisbane after that in 15th. They've got 54. North Melbourne have got 51. GWS got 33. And Gold Coast got 23,000 as the lowest amount of club members. I think that's also a big talking point as well. The Gold Coast Suns, 23,000 may not. It doesn't look. It's the lowest, but that's the most they've ever had. Yeah. So I mean that's good to see, but the fact that they're 10k lower than a club that joined a year after them, and we're kind of a laughing stock for a bit. Well, not a laughing stock, but they were such a young team that no one really knew anything about them. Yeah. The Gold Coast started with so many marquee signings, really Gary Ablett, of course, and all those other ones, but. Yeah, the Gold Coast are really behind the eight ball. I think Damien Hardwick really needs to, not even just for the club, not even just for the game day stuff, but for them to if they start to succeed, that will increase so much more for the club as well. Yeah. And you look at Sydney, the Sydney Swans, they've got 65,000 members, and GWS have got 33. So that's nearly 100,000 people in a rugby state have a membership to these clubs. Yeah. As opposed to Queensland, who have got 54 for Brisbane and 23 for Gold Coast. What's that? 78,000? Yeah. So it's nearly a quarter less when you're looking at it. So considering Brisbane as well are doing so well at the moment, I think it just does show that I think Sydney probably do have a little bit more of a football state. It's starting to become more of an AFL state as well, rather than just a rugby state. And Brisbane and Queensland need to be... There's a lot more to do. I think having the Gold Coast Suns not doing anything for since they've been in the AFL, it does have a lasting effect to it. That if the thing is, if you don't have another choice, if you see a club like a different sport that you want to join, and the only club in your state that has success is one, and you don't really want to follow them for some reason, I don't know. I mean, for me as a kid, the reason why I started backing for the Swans is because I fucking like the colours. For Christ's sake. I mean, as a kid, there's not much that brings you to a club. If you don't follow your parents... That's another... obviously your parents aren't going to follow the Gold Coast Suns. There's not many of them. So, if you think about it, what's going to bring you to the Gold Coast Suns, especially now? There's been no success behind them. That's a big talking point about it now. But one thing I did want to do before we move on to the... keeping within the topic of the membership and fans and stuff, is I want to do a blind ranking for you, which we're going to put up on TikTok, and you're going to get views for it because I'm not going to do it. We're going to do the blind rankings of the worst supporter bases in the AFL.
Worst?
Yeah, but I'm going to give you the team, so you can't, whatever. So you got to do a blind ranking. So obviously,
what do you mean the worst is based on what?
All right. If you were sitting in an AFL game, and you had a supporter sat next to you, what would you be the most annoyed by? What team would be the worst?
Yeah.
You want to sit next to?
Yeah.
Okay, put it that way. And so one would be the worst. One's the worst.
So tops, yeah.
One's the worst. Fifth is the least. Okay. First one I'll go with. Actually, I won't say that because that's just going to be biased towards you. St Kilda.
The worst.
What would you say?
3.
Okay, middle of the range. All right.
And we have been to a lot of games, so like
I think we've seen
a lot of teams. So I do know what. Yeah.
Yeah, we know what's really bad and what's really good. And whatever. I think obviously with Gather Round as well, we kind of know more now as well. So St Kilda, you've put in 3rd. Sydney.
5.
5. Okay. Okay. Port Adelaide.
2.
So Port Adelaide support.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
you're right.
Get really good.
You're allowed to put Port Adelaide too because you're a part of them. So you don't
because I know. Yeah, I've been to many Port games. I know. Even me, I can get. Yeah.
Carlton. It's either 4 or 1.
4. Yeah, 4. I reckon.
I think every single person other than Carlton supporters would be sitting there saying no fucking way.
Yeah,
anyway. But the last one, I think everyone would be putting at number 1 is Collingwood.
Yeah.
Would you change any of them around?
Maybe St Kilda for Carlton.
Swap them around.
That would be the only one. Everything else I think's right.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of fair enough.
Yeah.
That's our blind ranking for this week. That'll be a good one to put up and see how many people abuse you. I won't give my opinion because I feel I get enough comments on the videos that I put out that annoy the fuck out of me. So I'll fucking leave it there. Oh, some arsehole. I don't care. I'm leaving this until we get to the next segment. Some arsehole in the comments who wouldn't be watching this because he couldn't keep his brain span working for the space of 20 seconds. In the memorable videos, the memorable games video which we put out a couple of weeks ago, he basically just said, too many Swans games, not enough Collingwood games because he's a Collingwood supporter. Oh, well, sorry, bro. They were memorable for you because you're a fucking Collingwood supporter. And yes, you can say the same thing for me. Oh, well, memorable for Sydney. But it was also the most memorable games, not just the games you enjoyed.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know why I said that because that's exactly what he could use to me. You just put all Sydney games in there because you're Swans.
Hey, I said to you last week when this is like you put a lot of Swans games in it.
Hey, but they were memorable. Alright, maybe I think the West Coast game was memorable because it was such a fucking flogging. That's my opinion. Anyway. But guys, we've got the World Sports segment coming up. Before that, of course, I've remembered this week to talk about it. Of course, we do have a Patreon. If you want to join it, it is a link down below. You get early access to this podcast. Basically, as soon as we finish recording, I'll quickly edit it up and get the thumbnail ready, and then it's basically up and ready to go. So, like today, you get a couple of days early. If you get it a couple of days early. If not, if we do it right on the Wednesday, you'll get a couple of hours early. You can listen to it. I don't know. Help you sleep, I guess. If we're that fucking boring.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes I listen to podcasts to help you sleep. Not even if they're boring. Just a lot easier to sleep when someone's all screaming at your head off, which we don't really do. Anyway, I don't know why that was a good plug for the Patreon, but anyway, you get early access to videos as well. Like we put out, I've got a video out now. Well, I've made it about a very interesting topic, which I don't think we've seen many videos about it. I've shown you. You thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Hype it up. It's the best video you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's one of the best videos that.
Guys, I'm not even got him a gun.
It was memorable for the AFL. I thought it was memorable.
Okay. More memorable than the West Coast Sydney game this year.
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, I think it was. It was definitely number 1.
Anyway, yes, that's up now. If you want to go watch that, it's about. I don't know if I want to say what it's about. It's about AFLX. Let's just put it that way. That's as far as I'll go. If anyone can remember that. But also you get early access to the Twinners podcast, the comedy podcast that me and my brother do every single week as well. We get that. That's 2 weeks early for you guys if you want to watch that. So all that's on there now. Link down below if you want to go check that out. It's a couple of dollars a month if you want to check it out. If not, totally fine. At the moment, I don't think we've got anything exclusive behind the paywall. We may do a podcast somewhat, that's just behind the paywall for Patreon maybe in the future, but we want to start growing it a bit more, and that's basically what we're using for that sort of stuff. We're going straight back into this, using different equipment and stuff, make this look a lot better than us standing in front of a webcam. People getting annoyed. Sweating our asses off. Maybe we can get an aircon in there. That'd be fucking awesome. Anyway, let's move to the world sport. So, of course, in the cricket, Australia beat Pakistan in the third test. Surprisingly, it was actually quite a close game.
It was actually an interesting series, I thought.
Yeah, other than the first test. The two other tests were pretty decent.
If Pakistan actually held their catches, they would have won the second test, and they probably would have won their batsmen were very average, I thought. Their batsmen were very average through the whole series.
I think it was Rizwan, who was the only one who kind of performed, really.
Yeah, and he didn't even play the first test. Rizwan got the highest score of 92, I think it was. Yeah, 90-something. But yeah, that was the highest score. That's pretty pathetic.
Yeah. I think one of the big talking points was on day 3 as well. Late in day 3, Pakistan looked like they were about to set a good total for us, but they just got bowled over. Hazelwood had a massive over. He got none for 3 and a quick 3-wicket made, and that was massive for us. And obviously in day 4, we were able to knock over Pakistan, and then after lunch, we were able to come through and win the game. So that was good. David Warner's final test as well. That's another talking point as well. Who do you think should be the next opener? Do you think they should bring in a Bancroft type, or do you think they should try and pick someone from the current team?
No, I think they should. I think they should pick a genuine opener, and I think it's Renshaw. I would pick Renshaw because he's been around the squad for the last couple of years. I know he wasn't in the squad for most of this summer, but I still think that Renshaw was the player that can still do it. I think he's a bit more mature than the other two that have got runs on the board.
Yeah.
And yeah.
The thing is, though, there's not an outright person to pick, is there?
Not really.
And even, to be honest, even if it was Maguire's not an opener. We haven't got an opener that's taken that spot.
Yeah, well, now,
Who was the one who was supposed to be? Pukowski. He was supposed to be the one that was supposed to be the next big up-and-comer, but obviously he's had a lot of injury with concussion and stuff. So that's really the only one I've noticed in the past, it's been nearly 10 years now? When's the last opener that we had? Was with David Warner.
Well, he had 12 different openers while he was playing. Yeah, David Warner. So
we've never had someone to stick as we've had a lot of good opening partnerships in Australia's time, but we've just never had that for 10, 15 years nearly.
No one really to partner him. So
and right now we really don't have anyone to come in. People are talking about Steve Smith going up to opener. I don't know about that. What is it? I think even Travis Head's maybe been mentioned a few times.
Cameron Green, Labuschagne, have all been...
Cameron Green coming into the team and someone going up to the top. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not the huge follower of cricket. I've heard a lot of talking points of different people. I don't know. I think whoever at the end of the day gets it is going to have to really get the spot. I do think it would be a good idea to go back to someone from the Shield and try and find someone to get that spot. I don't think trying to but trying to manufacture the order to try and get someone to play an opener where they don't really play that role. I don't know if that's the right decision, but at the end of the day, I'm not a huge cricket nuffy, so I'm going to go with what you said. Look at I think Bancroft could get another go, but that's just me.
Just before, they do have 2 tests against West Indies and then 2 against New Zealand in New Zealand. So whoever they do pick they pick him for all 4 tests and they make him opener. Doesn't matter who they pick, they make him opener for those 4 tests.
Yeah, just give him a go.
Give him a go, and if it fails, they don't have another test series till they play India next summer. Yeah, that's the only So they got time to pick and give this guy a red hot crack, I believe.
Obviously, more in the Test cricket. Did you see the South Africa-India test where that one day 23 wickets went doon?
Yeah, the second day the other 17 went down. They were done in 2 days.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I think we saw that happen in Australia 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was down in Hobart where we saw in 2 days nearly, or 2.5 days maybe it was, that we saw a whole cricket test finished. It was like a day. I know a lot of day-nighters earlier on in Australia. They were going pretty quickly as well.
Well, you don't normally see it. Normally you see it in India on the turning pitches. It was weird that you saw it in South Africa.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this. You probably did as well. But India were 4 for 153 in their first innings, and they got all out for 153 as well. Yeah. That was very surprising. Yeah. I saw that.
I think one of the the commentator, I think it's Ravi Shastri, was on commentary, and he said, "Well, I hope you didn't go and take a dump because you would have missed it."
Yeah, I heard that. That was a good commentary.
You would have missed it. Yeah, I thought that was priceless.
Yeah, I thought the last couple of tests, talking about Test cricket, I think it has actually been pretty good Test series here against Pakistan. But the problem that probably lies is the crowds haven't been showing up.
No,
the crowds have not been there. And there's actually been, I don't know about this, but there's been a lot of talk, there's been a bit of talk about the fact that maybe Test cricket should be somewhat scrapped or be really changed because the crowds aren't coming to it, especially here in Australia, unless it's, an Indian Test where a lot of expats are or us against England, it's really not that popular anymore.
Yeah.
And, I don't think anyone below, it's even the people around our age. Do you know many people at our age that are Test cricket fans?
No, and the only reason you saw a bit of a crowd for the Pakistan series in Sydney was because it was David Warner's last match. Yeah. It was the only reason why you saw.
And it's also the Pink Test as well.
The Pink Test that they all came out for day 3 for Jane McGrath Day. So you just.
What would you do if you could change Test? Could you change Test cricket, or do you think just?
Well, the thing is that at the moment, each cricket board have a set rate. They don't have an all set rate for Test matches. So that is a different team. It's a different organisations. If Pakistan, that's why Australia never play Bangladesh here, because they don't get the crowds, obviously. Yeah. But because Bangladesh don't get a different salary than what Australia does for a Test match.
Yeah.
So if they set it all out and they're all on the same wage or whatever, you'd get more of them playing. I reckon you'd get more of the players the West Indies players play Test cricket because they'll get a good wage for it than playing T20 cricket.
I mean, I never really even thought of it that way. I mean, that's a decent point. But does that bring the crowds to it? I mean, is anyone going to... That's... I don't know if that's bringing the crowds to the game.
Yeah, well, I think there's also the pricing that... There's so many things that... there was a incident in the Sydney Test with the bad light.
That was
stupid. They went off a bad light when you could see the ball clearly. Stuff like that is why people don't go to the cricket. Because if you spend, $50, $60 for a family pass, it's probably way more, I can't look at it.
Yeah.
But for your whole family to go to one day of Test cricket and you spend half the time not there watching cricket because of the bad light, why would you want to go back next day?
There's so many things as well, factors of cricket not finishing or not happening, or like rain, obviously, but weather can obviously be too dark. It can be, And the thing is as well, if you go to cricket for one day, the game's, unless you're going on a final day, the game's not finished either. And people can't afford really to go to 2, 3, 4, 5 days of a test because it is very expensive.
Yeah.
So that's another thing as well. I just think, look, I'll go with a couple of ideas. Now, change the game, not so much the outside of it. I know you can say this is completely stupid. I understand that. This is just a couple of things I've came up with. Now, and something as well I want to bring up just before I do that. BBL crowds have actually increased by 29% this year from last year. So clearly there is a market for cricket in this country, but clearly it's not for Test cricket, unless it's India or England. Yeah. Now I think one thing that has to change, especially for the T20 cricket to make it a lot better, and I know that I don't know if there's many people Indian listening to this, but for Christ's sakes, pick your Test team or whatever. Pick a certain amount of players that aren't allowed to play around the world. Let the rest of them play around the fucking world and earn some fucking money. Even if they're not the most known Indian player. They're some of the best cricketers. Let them play in these T20 comps to fill out these spots. I think it would be so much better. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. With Test cricket, now this is the first one I've made it, and this is a very big overhaul of Test cricket. Call me an idiot. Make it 1 innings.
One innings
each. Now I know that sounds a bit weird, but make it 1 innings each, or Make it a maximum of 100 overs.
Mm.
Okay?
Then, yeah.
So that's giving a reason for teams to hit some fast runs to make a big total. Because at the moment in Test cricket, you can bat for 260 overs and get 500 runs. Hitting 2 runs an over, boring as fuck. No one wants to sit there and watch that. There's a reason why people go to T20 cricket, because it's fast and people are hitting runs or getting wickets because batsmen are trying to hit runs. That's my reasoning for that one. So if it was to be 100 overs, I think it would be the ball would change every 30 to 35 overs. So one at 35, let's say one at 70. In the last 30 overs, you get that ball.
Yeah.
So the ball's always interesting. It's always moving. It's always doing something. The over rate has to be so much quicker.
I've always believed it should be quicker.
I don't know why it takes so fucking long to bowl it over.
And the stupid thing is that they deduct now Test championship points. I don't care what the fuck. They might care about it, but it does not matter.
It doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference. They still go slow as fuck. I think on the first day of the Test match in Sydney, they bowled 79 overs.
Yeah.
That's crap.
And you're supposed to hit a max... 90.
You're supposed to hit...
so 11 overs. That's what, half an hour of play.
That's nearly an hour of play. That's nearly an hour of play
just gone.
That you've wasted. You've wasted just sitting around... Yeah,
rubbing the ball, looking at it, picking at it, grabbing the sandpaper out, rubbing it on the ball.
Yeah.
That's what David Warner was doing off screen. And obviously, and the one that you just brought up, don't stop because of bad fucking light. Like, if worst comes to worst, and we've seen this, if a ball gets hit like out of the ground or something, they grab a new ball.
Yeah.
And it's already like aged or whatever, so then they can have the same sort of outlook or whatever. Surely they could do the same thing with a white ball. You know, or a pink ball.
Yeah, they were saying that they could change to a pink ball, or they could all
just keep it as a pink ball forever.
Yeah.
Like that means you can play during the night, or make it a couple of days. Make them play at night because people aren't working at night, so they could go more. So much more night cricket, nice Test cricket. The one thing what the Test cricket can have is the atmosphere of a Test match at night.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. Because on the weekend, we've gone to a Test match at night, and it was actually quite interesting to watch.
Yeah.
We burned like fuck in the sun when it was during the day. But guess what? In summer, at night, in Australia watching the cricket, it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, you get a night, yeah.
That's something I thought about. Now, the second one I wanted to bring up, this is probably a little bit less, is bring have the 2 innings, but have it at limited overs. So, either have 1 innings and no limit on overs.
Yeah.
Or have 2 innings but have it limited at 100 overs. So, I think you can fit 100 overs in a day. If you were able to bring in a pink ball, you could have it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway. I don't know. But have extra drinks breaks. Like, fucking hell. I mean, they're athlete cricketers who are getting millions of fucking dollars. You can play for an extra hour. I'm sorry. And I think it would make it a lot more interesting. And I think one that not a lot of people would talk about, but it's something that I was watching cricket as a kid, and something that I thought was stupid was the fact that at the end of 5 days, if the team's not won or not made the runs, that it's just a draw. Get rid of that. I think that's a stupid thing. I know that rain can be the contributing factor, but if the game has got to a point, like how many Test matches get to a point where at the end of 5 days, there's been no rain, there's been no stoppages in play, but we still get to the end of the 5 days, and because the team massively did well in the first innings, their second innings, they just block it out for a fucking whole day. Who the fuck wants to watch that? So if you get to your second innings on the 5th day and you don't reach the runs that the first innings team got, I'm sorry, but you don't fucking draw the game. You lose because you didn't make that point, which would in the end give that second innings team a reason to hit some runs and try and win the match. Because we've even seen when teams get like to 100 runs before with about 20 overs to go, but they've got only 2 wickets in hand or 3 wickets in hand, that they just block it out because they want to draw the game. Because we could win the series or we could draw the series, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
No, none of that shit. You got to try and win your game. I guess it gives a little bit more, it gives a huge advantage to that team that gets the first inning score though.
Yeah.
I get that. But who the fuck wants to sit there for a whole 5th day watching a team sit there, get a run rate of 0.9 and fucking block the ball all day? I don't want to watch that. Do you, as someone, of like 24, 20, I'm 25, fuck. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
And people of the younger generation, they don't either. And trust me, they would be a lot less interested in cricket than me, Test cricket.
Yeah.
I have somewhat of an interest in it. I watch it. I keep up to date with it. I won't watch it all day, but I'll, when I'm home from work, I'll check the score. I'll watch maybe the last hour of the play. Like, not even watch it, just listen to it. Like, you probably watch it a little bit more than me.
Yeah.
People under our age and around our age aren't watching it.
No.
So they've got to do something for it. Like, how long did it take for night Test cricket to come to the game? It was so long. The tradition of Test cricket, it's going to take the Test cricket as a whole down.
Yeah. They need to start playing more.
They need to be more innovative. Fucking hell. Why do I do a podcast if I can't speak properly? Innovative on Test cricket. We've seen it with T20 cricket. We've seen it with one-day cricket. They have to do something about Test cricket or it will die.
Yeah.
In 20 years' time, could you honestly see a younger generation than us than the generation now watching Test cricket?
As it is now, no. They are slowly, it's slowly going. It's nearly dying a slow death.
Yeah.
And all the points you make, the only one I agree with is the is the overrate. I believe that
the only one you agree with is the overrate.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, fuck
but
yeah.
I think there's but also there has to be a lot more day-night tests. Now that, I just think that I think that's the future of keeping it going, and I don't know why. I don't know why more countries aren't getting into it. There's been a few other than Australia that have done it, but they've only ever done it maybe twice. I think England's done it twice.
Yeah.
New Zealand's done it once, I think, and some other teams have done it once. Australia's the only team that have done it every year since it first happened.
Yeah.
But that's
and
the
they need
future.
to have more per summer as well. Not
Yeah.
just the one. I think in Australia we should have at least 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like the Boxing Day could say the same. Maybe the Sydney Test can say the same. But the other ones need to be night tests. If you have lights...
The thing is about Perth is that because of the time difference that New South Wales and Victoria and Queensland obviously wouldn't finish until fucking 12 o'clock. Well, I'm sorry. If you want crowds, Perth aren't going to go down in the steaming heat at 40 degrees into Test cricket. They're not.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing as well. Like, fucking Big Bash sometimes has games going on to 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So fucking go sit and watch Test cricket.
Yeah. I'm sure the people that in New South Wales or Victoria will be watching the Big Bash at 12 o'clock at night. I'm sure they would be if the game was in Perth.
I'm sure a lot of TV ratings nowadays for Test cricket are people who just have it on in the background.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have it on in the background at 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'd be a lot of fucking people yahooing and fucking cheering around if we got a wicket at 12 o'clock at night.
Especially at this time of the year, in the Christmas period.
Yeah.
Not many, at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday, Thursday, would you be working over that Christmas period close to it? You'd maybe work, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they'd schedule it better.
Yeah, exactly.
If they did it. So,
but maybe we're just talking out our ass. Maybe we don't know anything. Maybe they've got some big plans. I mean, I think that Test cricket has to do something to keep it alive, or it will just die a slow death.
Yeah.
Like we've been saying. But let's move on. We've got a little bit of soccer to talk about before we get into the NFL. Not a lot this week, just because there's no Premier League and I don't really follow a lot of the other leagues. Girona are still keeping up with Real Madrid, which is good to see.
But they need to lose top spot, so they suck now.
Yeah, they suck. Losers.
Yeah, they won't be remembered.
Yeah.
No one will remember them in 5 years.
Exactly.
They'll be relegated next season.
Yeah. Well, anyway, at this stage, we still have the FA Cup that's not started, but it's kind of... finally the big,
momentum.
England clubs have started.
Yeah.
So... firstly, Arsenal lost to Liverpool. So Arsenal are now knocked out of the EFL, obviously, and now knocked out of the FA Cup. So they've only got the Champions League and the Premier League to look at.
So they'll be knocked out of the Champions League soon. Yeah,
well, at least they will have only one competition to take a look at.
Yeah.
West Ham drew 1-1 with Bristol City, which isn't very good because they've still got to... They're playing Europa League.
So now they've got
to play another
replay.
Yeah, they have to do a replay. West Brom won 4-1 over Aldershot Town. Oh, God. Wrexham won 1-0 over Shrewsbury Town.
Yeah.
Leeds, good on you. Ryan Reynolds, my man crush. Leeds United won 3-0 over Peterborough. Nottingham Forest drew 2-2 to Blackpool, so they'll have to do a replay. Manchester City flogged Huddersfield Town.
And Kevin De Bruyne's back.
Yeah, I saw that too.
For,
so that's,
I think 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, and he did set up one of their goals too.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, Huddersfield Town, they've lost all of it since they lost Aaron Moy. Aussie go. Yeah. Luton Town drew to Bolton, so they'll have to do a replay as well. Swansea won 2-0 over Morecambe. Sheffield Wednesday won 4-0 over Cardiff. Okay, yeah. Aston Villa won 1-0 over Middlesbrough. Chelsea won 4-0 over Preston. Whoa!
Oh, yeah. Whoop-de-doo.
Watford won 2-1 over Chesterfield. Brighton won 4-2 over Stoke. That was actually a pretty good game to watch in the highlights. Southampton won 4-0 over Walsall. Bournemouth won 3-2 over Queen's Park Rangers. Plymouth Argyle won 3-1 over Sutton United. Norwich and Bristol Rovers got a 1-1 draw, so replay. Newport and Eastleigh got a 1-1 draw as well, so another replay. Hull City and Birmingham all got a 1-0 draw. Sheffield United won 4-0 against Gillingham. Oh, that's a good name. Fucking hell. Blacktown Rovers won 5-2 against Cambridge. Newcastle won 3-0 over Sunderland. That was an interesting game. Always a big rivalry, that one. Leicester won 3-2 over Millwall. Maidstone United won 1-0. That's an interesting name. Coventry City won 6-2 over Oxford. Wimbledon lost to Ipswich Town 3-1. Tottenham won 1-0 over Burnley, which we'll talk about in a second. Fulham won 1-0 over Rotterdam United. And finally, thank fuck, Brentford drew 1-0 with Wolves. Oh, and also Crystal Palace drew 1-0 with Everton. Anyway, back to the Tottenham game. Did you see Ange Postecoglou's interview?
I didn't watch any of the FA Cup.
Did you see the interview there? You didn't see it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so after the game, Postecoglou, they won 1-0 against Burnley, which they needed to do because they've still got to focus on a lot of stuff going forward with the European stuff, so they didn't have to do their replay. So in the interview, I think one of their players got injured throughout the game.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but they got an injury, and Eric Dyer, wasn't Eric Dyer, but at the time they're talking about him in the interview, they're saying, there's been some talk about Eric Dyer leaving. Was he injured?
Or was he? Yeah.
Well, was he injured because, basically, like, they're implying, was he injured because he was left out of the team?
Yeah.
For example, and Postecoglou just turned around and just went, "Don't question my integrity, mate. I left him. If he's out of this team, he is injured.
Yeah.
I did not leave him out of this team because of anything else. Don't
Yeah.
question my integrity." Oh, fucking love you, Ange. I love you, Ange.
He's good, isn't he? He's good for it.
So many people in England are loving him, right?
Yeah.
People in Australia are loving it. People are trying to question his integrity, which, look, if he did, which he didn't, if he left out a player because they were going to leave, it wouldn't be the first manager.
No, it
wouldn't be fucking news.
It wouldn't be the first time it's happened at Tottenham too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fucking hell. And they're trying to question his integrity or whatever. Like, I think Eric Dyer was supposed to be coming. He could have been on the bench or whatever because he could have came on for this injury that happened. But I think there's been talk he wants to go. That he could be going to Bayern Munich. Like, what the fuck would they want him? But anyway.
But also, the amount of times that a team has rested players for an FA Cup game. Doesn't matter who it is, they've done it. So to say, well,
yeah, well, fucking Liverpool left out Van Dijk and Salah for their game against Arsenal today.
Salah goes to the African Nations Cup.
Oh, right, whatever.
But
they left them both out.
But they left it. Yeah, but Virgil van Dijk's the captain. He should be playing every game. Basically.
Yeah, did you really rest it? Did you rest this important game in the FA Cup when you don't give a fuck about it? When the Premier League's more important.
Yeah.
Not that the FA Cup's not important, but let's be honest. If a top English team, they will skate through the first few rounds, and if they get through to like the quarterfinals, then they'll start to care. But they won't care if they get eliminated in the fourth round because they care more about the Premier League, the Champions League if they're in it, Europa League, or whatever.
Yeah.
Now Liverpool also have to care about the EFL because they're in the semi-final this week. That's why they cared about them. Because they are playing Middlesbrough in the semi-final in the Carabao Cup. That's what the EFL is.
Yeah.
Oh no, Chelsea are playing Middlesbrough. Sorry, Liverpool are playing Fulham, which actually will be coming out on Wednesday. So it could be a Liverpool-Chelsea final, which could be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea will probably lose that. Anyway, let's move to the NFL to finish things. Now, the final day of the NFL regular season has finished, and boy, what a shitstorm the Falcons happened there. Did you see what happened? At halftime, they were 17-all, and they lost by 48-17.
Good old Ritter.
Yeah, it was him. He fucking threw 2 intercepts, you fucking loser. Interception. Oh, no, 1 intercept. And then
Did Heineke actually play the game?
No, he didn't. I don't know what happened to him. They were playing a rookie they actually brought on the fucking rookie named Woodside for the last couple of plays because Ritter's just so fucking useless. Anyway, so the Saints went on to win, but it didn't matter because the Bucks won 9-0 against the Panthers in a massive contest.
Yeah, to be honest, why has the NFC South even got a team going in it?
Well, to be fair,
they suck.
I think to be fair, they wouldn't. They may have made it. The Packers were equal with them, who also made it as well.
They don't deserve it. No, none of the teams in the NFC South deserve the spot and a home ground advantage.
Yeah, that's true.
They
don't deserve the home ground. I'll give you that. So there were a lot of there weren't many movements on the leaderboard, to be honest, going into today. One big change that happened on Sunday for us, Saturday, which was the Texans and the Colts. That was a massive game. The Texans went on to win, and they secured their spot, a home playoff game in the AFC, which was massive for them because if we look back last year, 12 months ago, not even that, they were 3-13 and a draw. And this year they went 10-7 and got themselves in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's a massive turnaround. And CJ Stroud has been probably one of the best fucking quarterbacks in the comp.
Yeah.
And he's in his first year.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess Carolina will be pissed that they picked Bryce Young.
That wasn't their fault. They had some guy, I think it was the coach or whatever, didn't want him and they sacked him for a week later. Speaking of sackings, Arthur Smith has been sacked from the Falcons. I think Ritter should have lost his contract before him, but anyway. Not that I think Arthur Smith, I don't know if he is doing that well, to be honest. But anyway, Ravens and the 49ers both lost, which was very interesting. But both of them already
secured top spot. So
they kind of... And I don't think... Jackson didn't even play in the game for the Ravens. They played their reserve.
And the 49ers dropped half their team because they didn't want to get injuries. They
kind of wanted to drop off. Cowboys did secure that home playoff game. They've got the second, which is massive because they're yet to lose a game at home this season. So to finally get that home playoff game, which they haven't been able to do for a couple of years.
Yeah, well,
that's massive.
The bloody Eagles played an absolute shithouse game. They'd lost to the Jets, wasn't it?
I think it was the Giants.
It was one of the New York teams, yeah.
Yeah, and they're currently the Eagles 1-4. What was it? 2 months ago, we were talking about the Eagles being the favourite, and now they've gone way down and plummeted down off the face of the earth, and are in a terrible spot right now. And they had a tough game. They'll be playing against... Oh, no, they play the Bucks. Well, they don't play at home, though. I think that's a pretty tough game to play against the Bucks, to be honest. But they get a bit... They were lucky they got their wins at the early start. At the start.
Yeah, they just... I don't know what the Eagles have been doing. They just... I mean, they did lose. They have had a few injuries. I know that, but AJ Brown, I think, got injured in the game this week, so that's going to be an interesting watch. But yeah, they just look like a completely different team from the start of the season to now. Yeah,
I mean, one other team that we could talk about that's kind of in the same boat were the Jags. They have fallen so far. They were one of the top teams in the AFC just before the mid-season, and they've lost 6 of their past 7 games and they missed the playoffs today. How bad is that?
Yeah, that was horrible.
Now, to be fair, at the start of the season, they had some pretty... I mean, at the start of the season, they had a couple of easy games. They had the Falcons for one, they had the Colts a couple of times, they had the Saints when they weren't doing too well, they had the Steelers. So at the start, going into their first bye, which is week 9, which is about halfway through, they were 2 losses. And since then, they've won 3 games since their bye and have missed the playoffs, which is shocking. And I watched the highlights of the Jags game, and I think you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that their quarterback in Lawrence was injured.
Yeah.
He was playing injured. He was missing so many easy passes in that game.
He missed 1 game through injury.
Yeah.
And the injury he did get, he didn't look right. I think it was his ankle or something. It was something in his leg, but...
I think there must have been his shoulder as well, because he was throwing some fucking shockers today.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't feel stable on his legs, which I mean is fair enough, but fucking hell, he was throwing some absolute shockers today, and they had a chance late in the game to get a potential touchdown, then get a 2-point conversion to level it up and get it to overtime. But he just couldn't hit a pass.
Yeah.
And he had some receivers open, and I'd been fucking a little bit pissed off too if I was the receivers watching that. All the reserve quarterbacks sitting there like, fucking hell, bro, I could have hit those passes.
Yeah.
No offense to the guy. If he was playing injured, fair enough that he's struggling a little bit. But yeah. And one actually talking point as well is since the Bills were able to get over the line over the Dolphins, they've actually knocked them off their perch in their top division spot. And the Bills have actually taken second on the... I think they've taken second seed.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah.
They've taken second seed, which is massive because, again, this is another team that we've been talking about saying that they were a potential, Super Bowl competitor, the Dolphins, and they've gone 2-3 in the last 5 games, and they've gone to 6th, and they'll have to play the Chiefs in their first game.
Yeah, I've said that the Dolphins were the one team that were going to struggle because that even though they did have a couple injuries to their good players late in the season, they couldn't beat the big teams. They played Baltimore and the Bills in the last 2 weeks, and they couldn't win. They found ways to lose, so they were never going to do it. I didn't think.
Yeah, now they've always been their question mark this season has been their defense. Their offense has been carrying them in a lot of games. But the Chiefs still sit in 3rd spot in the AFC. But we will take a look at quickly now the playoffs. So I sent them to you, but I'll bring them up now. Here they are. So on Sunday for us, Sunday morning in Australia, Saturday night for people in America. I'm assuming there's most people in Australia. The first playoff is the Browns versus the Texans. And that's at 8:30 in the morning. I'm actually checked that one out. And the Dolphins and the Chiefs will play in the second playoff game, which is like early afternoon on Sunday. And then on Monday, early game is the Steelers versus the Bills, then the Packers versus the Cowboys, and the final game on Monday is the Rams and the Detroit Lions. And on Tuesday is the Eagles and the Buccaneers.
What a shit game to finish.
Well, I don't know. I think that'll be an interesting game, to be honest. We'll see what happens.
Both teams are really having a bad couple second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put your tips in now, first game is Browns and Texans. That's an interesting game. Browns. They've won 4 of their past 5. They lost the game today, but they rested a lot of players. I'd probably go the Browns as well. Even though the Texans are the home team.
Yeah.
You still think the Browns?
Yeah, I still think the Browns.
Dolphins versus Chiefs. I would have to go the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs. They're saying at the moment that the weather's going to be shit out there, so they won't play well with Dolphins in shit weather.
Bills versus the Steelers. I'm going to go the Bills. I think this is pretty much... That's the lock for me, even though the Bills have not had a very good... They don't have the best playoff record.
Yeah.
But I'll give it to them.
The Bills should win. Pittsburgh are just very iffy.
They kind of scraped in.
Yeah.
They scraped in.
They're the team that I think just scraped in.
Yeah, they're making up the numbers. Cowboys versus Packers. I think the Cowboys will back this year. They're at home.
If they choke this time, they really do have a problem in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they really do.
Because they've got a home playoff. They're not the second seed right now. Obviously, the top seeds in the playoffs in the NFL, if you don't know, they get the first week off. But yeah, the Cowboys should win there. Detroit versus Rams. I think this is an interesting game, actually. Stafford and Goff will be playing against their former sides. So that's actually quite interesting. Detroit, first time they played playoffs in a very long time. I will give them the win here, but I think it'll be a close one.
The way they played this season, you think they would. And playing in their home stadium, you think they'd win.
Yeah. And then finally, it's Philly versus the Bucks. I'll go Philly because I think they've had a better season, but at the moment they're not playing very well.
No, you just think that Philly just... I think once they realised that they were going to lose, they couldn't really move from where they were, and they just rested the rest of the players so they didn't get injured. You'd think Philly win, you think.
Yeah. So I think we've gone basically the same. Is that right? Same. Yeah, we've gone the same. I think there's some very good games coming up, and I'll be definitely checking them out. Make sure to check in with us next week as we cover the NFL once again. That's basically what we've got for today's podcast, guys. Make sure to let us know down below about how the podcast is going, if you're enjoying it, if you want us to cover some more stuff, different sports, different stuff. We are more than happy to take a look and sort some things out. Make sure to leave a like on this video, this podcast on YouTube, and subscribe on YouTube, and also leave us 5 stars on Spotify. I noticed we've got 2 people who've left us 5 stars on Spotify. We are that good. Did you leave us 5 stars on Spotify?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
So one other person, yay.
Which means we're actually really good. Anyway, thanks for watching today, guys. We will catch you all next week.
See you guys.